Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Alderman Houston.
Here.
Alderman Waller.
Here.
Alderman Staggart.
Here.
Alderman Trutler.
Here.
Alderman Duchild.
Excused.
Alderman Boston.
Here.
Alderman Vincent.
Here.
Alderman Seichler. 7 present, 3 not quorum.
Thank you. Before we get started, I'll announce we had a closed session of the Board of Aldermen tonight before this Board of Aldermen meeting, and I will ask the city attorney to please provide the results.
Thank you, Mayor. The board took 2 votes in closed session that are public, have become public. The first was a motion to release the redevelopment proposal, and that motion failed by a 4-3 vote. The second motion made in closed session was a motion to release the redevelopment proposal submitted by Urban Street 15 days after special and bond council is approved. And that motion did pass by a 5-2 vote.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. I will state that if you have comments that you wish to make tonight, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Once we have finished the public comment, there will be no further public comment regarding the ordinances, as these are second readings and the public comment was held last week. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
It's okay. Thank you, Mayor. This is really, I suppose, a procedural question that I need to direct to Mark. You received an email on Thursday from me, and all of them received it. I'm going to read that to you. Mark, please place on the agenda for the special meeting item to take vote on releasing the mall proposal and city attorney stumped council as an option at the last meeting. Thanks, Mike Tishless. Alderman Duchild followed up. Mark, this request is consistent with my request from last Tuesday's meeting. This topic deserves a public discussion and vote. Per Ms. Stump's advice, please place this topic on the agenda. Thank you. Paul, why is this not done? In my time as an alderman, that has never happened, to my knowledge.
Alderman Tishless, would you please repeat when that email was sent and what?
That email was sent Thursday, Mayor,
What time?
at 9 o'clock.
Okay, the agendas were complete and sent out Thursday afternoon, so that did not make the agenda.
The agenda was revised on March 30th according to the recent agenda, and I don't know what was revised on it, but there was a revision date of March 30th, and this was not included. I want to know why.
And I think I just explained to you, sir, why. Any item to be on the agenda needs to be in the hands of the city clerk prior to the agenda going out, and it was not until 9 o'clock that night.
Why does it say on the last agenda that was produced at the bottom, posted Wednesday, March 25th, 3 p.m., revised Monday, March 30th, 2015, 4 p.m. So there was revisions, so something was revised.
That would be to remove something from the agenda. That would have been most likely to remove something from the agenda that had not been completed in time to provide it to this board at this meeting.
So we
will have one of those tonight.
So we could remove an item, but we couldn't add an item, is what you're saying.
If the city administrator pulls an item, that's correct, but it has to be on the agenda
Can
to be
I
removed.
ask Mark why you did not respond to my email and Paul's email request? Received no response. Can you tell me why?
The meeting was called by the mayor, and he told me what the agenda would be for this meeting.
Okay, so in this case, what the mayor has set out trumps the request of 2 aldermen, is what it sounds like.
It's a special meeting called by the mayor. Yes,
I
that's correct.
understand that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, for an item to be placed on that agenda when you have a revised date of March 30th on the website, and you cannot see through to include this item? Again, this doesn't pass the smell test for me. I'm sorry, there's something going on, and it wasn't merely procedural. I welcome any comment on this, but at that point, I'm just going to relinquish it back to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, public comment. Any comments from this side? Yes, ma'am.
Martha Duchild, 9158 General Grant Lane. First of all, I'd like to say how disappointed I am that the board and the mayor and the city administrator is not releasing the mall plan immediately as it should be released. The reason cited, the exemption, is not applicable in this case because there is no negotiated contract. The board has not even selected a developer yet. You cannot have a negotiated contract before you've selected a developer. So the exemption cited not only doesn't make sense in this case, but that exemption was given to me as a reason not to provide me with a response to an RFP for the special and bond counsel. I was told by the city that closing the record is an exemption, and yet, here it is. I received this from the city. The board hasn't even voted to select bond counsel, yet the city provided me with this document. So, Mr. Stein, last week you cited that it was the city's policy to keep RFP responses closed until final action was taken. Correct? That's what I heard on the tape. That you cited that it was the city's policy to close responses until the board took final action. But if this is the city's policy, why then did you ask the city attorney if you could close the record? If that's the city's policy, then the record should have been closed as part of policy. What is going on here is the exception, not the rule. I received this response. I also was freely given the response to the RFP for the comprehensive planner ahead of any final action taken by the board. The city has set a precedent already for releasing information. So it is being completely inconsistent in its application of the law. Mayor Roby, you also claim that the proposal will not be released because there are several components that need to be analyzed prior to release to the public. Professional analysis will not change the content of the proposal.
It's legal analysis, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm not gonna release it until we.
Regardless, legal analysis will not change the actual proposal itself. It's an analysis. There are many in the community, as you stated in your campaign literature, with professional knowledge and insight who can further our growth. Why do these residents, along with all the other stakeholders who have an interest in this redevelopment, take a back seat to the city's paid advisors? The only logical reason that members of the community should not be able to analyze this plan concurrent with the city's advisors is that the city somehow believes it needs to be packaged before it is sold to the public. This is not a valid reason for closing the record to the public and only creates the suspicion that the proposal needs professional spin before being released. Finally, you pledged in your campaign that you would restore the voice of citizens in city government. So far, the only voices being restored are those belonging to the city's paid professionals. Citizen engagement cannot be achieved without a free flow of information. You should use this opportunity to ask the administration and the board to release the plan immediately and demonstrate to the community that the statements in your campaign flyer are more than just empty promises.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this side? Yes, sir.
Jerry Miguel, 7942 Camelot Lane. Irrespective of the votes that were taken this evening in your closed session, and the votes that were taken, I'm not sure, if I understood the motions, that this board has the authority to trump the Sunshine Law. But my comments. Urban Street has submitted a proposal to the city in response to an RFP. It is a proposal, a suggestion, an offer, a plan submitted by Urban Street. It is not a contract and does not pertain to a contract. It is not a document for negotiation by the city administrator. It is a document for consideration by this Board of Aldermen. It does not qualify as a closed record. It is a document that should be open to the public, and I have formally requested a copy. Even if this were a negotiable document, Mr. Syme does not have the authority to negotiate that document, simply because this Board of Aldermen has not granted that power to Mr. Syme in this instance. So what is Mr. Syme trying to hide? Is there a Walmart grocery store, or the use of eminent domain in the proposal? Whatever the reason or the intent, it is subverting the democratic process. It appears to me that this so-called negotiation is a smokescreen to keep Urban Street's proposal out of public eyes for as long as possible. And from her statements at the last Board of Aldermen meeting, our city attorney, Lisa Stone, is complicit in this unwarranted act of secrecy. Mr. Mayor, the unintended consequences of here are that this secrecy is hurting your image in the public eye, and is resulting in a loss of public trust.
Thank you.
In summary, Urban Street's proposal should be a public document. And even if it were not, Mr. Syme does not have the authority to negotiate it. So I ask His Honor to do what he has to render Urban Street's proposal a public document. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Truther, did you have a comment?
No, that's,
Anyone on this side care to speak? Yes, sir.
Robert Miller, 8915 West Haven Court. You know, as I heard here just a few moments ago, something stinks here. Excuse the expression to the young boy back there. But, you know, who wrote this RFP? The mayor, the city administrator, PGAV, which was admitted, and Urban Street. And you don't have to be too smart to read that proposal, that RFP. It's really set up for Urban Street. All kinds of tips, all kinds of stuff. It's gonna cost me big money if it goes through the way it is. And I heard the other day where if any alderman requests this thing, you'll have to pledge to secrecy that you won't give it to anyone. Well, I hope a couple of people have that original, which is available the other night, it was available. And see what we end up with, and see how much change, revision. You'll have a copy, you're under oath not to tell anybody, I trust you won't. Now, I wouldn't ask for anybody to violate ethics. But anyway, Urban Street deals with the city down here, big time, multi-million-dollar, 6 or 7 parcels. And you know the city aldermen, they give tips and everything possible, including eminent domain. They care nothing about the people, the poor people. They just care about earnings tax, that's what they survive on. So you're not gonna get a lot of tip from me, or I'll move out of the area. That makes me pay more money for the school districts. Lindbergh School District, I never failed to pay them. And then they had to wait 25 years to get the, Eureka Hills or whatever it's called out there, where you got the big IKEA, not the IKEA, but the Gander Mountain After 25 years, they got a big chunk of money, and what do? Give the teachers a raise, but that's beside the point. But something stinks here. This is not right. I was told that no one would get this thing until decision was made. There's no decision, there's only one bidder. And now I'm told tonight, somebody decided, well, within what, 2 weeks? Is that what I heard, 15 days or something? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Steve Meter, 9131 Cherry Brook Lane. I guess, Lisa, could you please help me understand something? What is magical about 15 days after a bond council is selected? Why is that a magical target? What forces you to release that? Why do you release that? What's
Can we
the-
step back a little bit?
Sure, whatever you want to do.
There's nothing that this, despite what may have been said by other members, it is my legal opinion that this document is legally authorized to be closed under the Sunshine Law. However, as we've discussed numerous times, just because something's authorized to be closed under the Sunshine Law does not mean that the board or the entity is required to keep it closed. So the board may at any time vote to open a document that is otherwise closed under the Sunshine Law. And that's what the board has chosen to do in the vote that they took.
Okay, regarding the Sunshine Law, I believe that's your interpretation of it. It is not a decision that's been rendered by a judge. Have you shown any?
No, but, I've been practicing.
Let me ask my question. Thank you. Have you shown any precedents from any other type of action such as this that would support your decision, or your opinion, I'm sorry?
Mr. Nieder, I'm not gonna get into a legal debate with you.
Well, I'm just
I've been a
asking-
lawyer for 25 years. I represent a lot of public
You
entities.
could be a lawyer for 50 years.
I understand, but
I'm asking the
that's my
question.
role as city
Don't argue
attorney.
with me. I'm paying you. Now, I'm asking the
Alderman
question.
Nieder, point of order. If you would, sir, please control your conversation. We can be very civil about this. We don't have to get ignorant about it. You asked the lady a question, she answered you.
No, she didn't. She avoided the answer.
She didn't
Yes,
avoid
she
the answer.
did. She avoided the answer.
Your question was, is there precedence?
Have you shown precedents that would support your legal opinion?
I can tell you that it is a common interpretation. I do have a reference to another situation where this has been used. It's a common interpretation. This amendment occurred in 1995, so there are no court opinions that have occurred about this since then.
Okay, so it's strictly,
Either way,
it's strictly up to individual interpretation.
absolutely, that's
Okay,
the way the
that's all
law
I want,
is.
that's all I wanted to know. Would have been nicer if you just answered it that way to begin with.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
In addition to that, to say that I'm disappointed this wasn't a release to anyway, is, I guess, probably not very worth repeating or anything of that sort at this point. What I do want to understand is, first, the votes that were taken in this closed session, which I think were illegal, but that's my opinion. When will those votes be made known to the public? I think legally they have like a 3-day or
They'll be made public tomorrow.
tomorrow? Okay, all right.
I will give the actual votes to the clerk, and you can ask the clerk for them.
Well, I would assume they would be published.
Well, sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to pay $12 to get something that's already been done. As when I put requests out, every time I turn around, you guys want $12 for every piece of information that comes out of this place. And I don't want to spend empty money getting that. So I think it's published on the website. Is that agreed? So that the public can access it without having to pay for it?
Good.
Asking you, Mr. Stein.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In addition to that, when this proposal, I'll call it that, is released, will it be released to the website so it's accessible by everybody who has access to computers and that type of thing? Is that the plan? Because I didn't hear any description of how it's going to be released.
Honestly, we didn't discuss that. We just voted on releasing it, but there was no discussion on how to release it. I'd like to talk to the individuals involved in the legalities of that, but I would think we could put it on the internet. I don't know why we couldn't put it on our website. I mean, I want to verify that before I confirm that, but I don't have a problem with that if once it's released,
Okay,
put it on the website.
okay, that's great, yeah, because the document should be able to be machine readable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Shouldn't be a problem with that. If there is, let me know, I'll be glad to help you make it machine readable.
No, I think we did electronic.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions on this side? See no further hands. Close public comment. The next order of business is old business. First item on the agenda is an ordinance approving Spelman Park renovation planner contract. Mr. Simon?
Your Honor, I removed that item from the agenda for this evening.
Okay. All right, then the next item on the agenda is the second reading of ordinance approving an agreement between the City of Crestwood, Missouri and Gilmore Bell, PC for special counsel and bond counsel services in connection with the Crestwood Court redevelopment area and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute same on behalf of the city. Do we have any comments from the board on this? Okay, I see no lights. Do we have a motion and a second for the second reading? We have a motion and a second for the second reading.
Can you make an exception for public?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry for now. No, ma'am.
And you want citizen participation and.
We had participation last meeting, ma'am, which was last week.
I could not make it, but.
I'm
you're not
sorry.
allowed it now.
I'm sorry. But we had public comment. We left that available. You can quote it on anything.
Thanks for living up to your campaign.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Alderman Titchlis?
Thank you. Have all the members had a chance to go through the proposals and consider all of them? I know we had some discussion last time we met, regarding Gilmore Bell, regarding, Pulcinelli, I believe is how you pronounce it. I think Daryl brought them up, and as well as Cunningham Vogel. Has everyone vetted this to their satisfaction before we take this vote? Okay, I think you have. Okay, I will be voting no to this particular bond counsel company because of the issues raised at the last meeting regarding what had occurred before with the city of Crestwood when it was engaged with the city, and of course the reading of the letter of severance with the city of its obligations. So, but thank you, and everybody, please vote.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, we have a motion and a second. Alderman Truitt?
Yeah, the subject of the letter from last week was addressed, I think, thoroughly by the members who were on the board at that time. What happened with Bell was that they had a bank or somebody went out of business, a new customer came in, and so they were forced by that action out of their control to declare a conflict of interest. They just didn't waltz in and say, we don't want to do work with business of the city of Crestwood. So they out of their control, one of their associates had a relationship with a firm. That firm went bankrupt, another one was replaced, so it had nothing to do with Crestwood being hard to work with. It was simply the right thing to do with circumstances that no one on the city of Crestwood or that organization had any control over. And to cast it any other way than that would be a disfavor to those of the citizens in the citizenry body listening to this tonight. Thank you.
And I think we'll just refer to it as a conflict as a reason.
That's good enough.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Did we get a vote? Motion and a second. All those in favor of the second reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Okay. Pass it down to Alderman Stavitt, please. You weren't about the first reading? You weren't on the first reading, were you? All right, go ahead.
Bill number 14-75, introduced by Alderman Trueblood. An ordinance approving an agreement between the City of Crestwood, Missouri and Gilmore and Bell, P.C. for special counsel and bond counsel services in connection with the Crestwood Court redevelopment area and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute same on behalf of the city.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Breeding,
Yes.
Alderman Boston,
Yes.
Alderman Vincent,
Yes.
Alderman Trueblood,
Yes.
Alderman Waller,
Yes.
Alderman Titchlis,
No.
Alderman Stack.
Yes.
6 ayes, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our business for tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor,
I have a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Thank you.
so, am I to understand then that 15 days from now, this gets it open?
Sir?
15 days from now, the proposal will be publicized, correct?
Yes, the council will be provided with a copy of the proposal, and the board has given them 15 days for analysis.
No, 15 days from now, the public will get a
15 days for the analysis. They have 15 days to report back to us.
That's not what we just heard.
Yeah. Yes, it has to be.
So it can be whenever they decide, basically.
Just so tasteless. And the other